And it's faux script because you're not really using a brush pen. Now, I will say Neuland actually has a brush pen, so you can do, you know, real script like this with different weights, right? Like the real thing. But sometimes you're in a position where you didn't bring your brush pen. So what are you gonna do then, right? So my solution is with any single line pen, and I'm gonna do this both with the outliner as well as one of the sketch to show you how that works. So the way I do it is, in my mind, I'm imagining what I did here. Like I'm thinking about where were the heavy strokes, and I sort of make a style. So here, what I'm going to do is start with the single line, very much like the others. Of course, I've got the advantage that I can see what the letters should look like. I'm actually going to stop at the top of the P so that I have a little control. That was something I learned like for a long time when I was learning and playing around with the script, was I felt like I had to do it all in one shot. And I realized that actually it can be beneficial to stop some places and really get your bearing before you finish the letter so that you don't make a mistake. So here's my single line script lettering. Center that a little bit more. Now what I do is I start seeing like there's some, when I use the brush pen, some areas are heavy and some are thin. So I take advantage of that and I sort of make my own. So I sort of assume like, okay, this is probably going to be my thick side. So I fill that in. I'm using my 2-line concept. I do it again also on the lower part of the S, but I have to decide, do I want to go outside and really make it hang down? Or do I want to, I've decided to do it on the inside. So I just put a little curve there, and that means that up here I should do the same. And then for the C, I'll put weight as well right there, just a little bit of a stroke. For me, I like putting the weight on the R here, and maybe I'll even sharpen up the top of the R. So that the advantage of this technique is you can sort of build the script the way you want it. Like even if I wanted to come back in here and extend it, I can do that. Which also means then there should be a thickness on the I. Maybe this has got to be a little bigger, thicker. I noticed that my P was really wide here just by the way it worked out. So I'm actually going to put my thick stroke on the inside and maybe put almost like a little sharp edge on the bottom, right? I have that control. So it fills the space a little bit more. And then I probably need something in here. Let's do that. I'll put a little bit of something below here. And then finally, the T, I've decided to go on the inside and build my script. So the benefit of that is you have total control over where those lines go. When you use a brush pen, the brush sort of produces what it produces. But here you've got a little bit more control and you can play with things. So what I'm going to do now is show you how that works with the Neuland, FineOne Sketch. So this is a little bit finer. Let's do the same word, script. You see there, I didn't stop on the P, I decided to go all the way through. But there are definitely some places where I'm learning to stop, pick up my pen, and have better control. In this case, I've worked with the IP enough that I felt confident going forward. So now what I'm going to do is come in and do the same thing. So I think in this case, I'm going to build this template first so you can see it and what I'm doing. So a lot of this, I'm just deciding where does it feel right to put that extra line. I want to maintain, I kind of like that sharp. So I'll come in here. There we go. Now, actually, this could actually be a style that maybe you like that, right? Maybe you fill this in with color or something like that. It doesn't have to be black. So you could actually make this a style, like maybe make the revealing of your template a style. I don't know why that's a problem at all, if that's what you decide. And then I just come in and fill in, just like with the 2-line, all my open areas till they're full to the way I like them. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is, because I know that's finer than what we've been working with, I'm going to bring it up a little bit. See if I can focus for you. You can see what that looks like in a little more detail. Here's the script. I don't know if that focus is working as I hope it will, but you can start to see a little more detail. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the heavier outliner and talk about a few more things around Faux script. So one thing I discovered was there's a couple of different ways to do T's, and there's probably a couple of different ways to do a couple of different letters. So the first one, lowercase t this is if I start a sentence like the, I've been using this style. So you see it actually starts here and curves up. So for me, that's the start. It can be lowercase, but it's the start of a word. And this is where, like, typically I think in cursive you can do like this, which is another way, right? Sometimes I don't like that curl in there. I want it to be a single line, so I'll start with this. So this is the first one. This is my second way. And then the last way, of course, is more like this. And it really depends on where in the word it appears and if I want these loops or not. If I'm using this type of loop, so like the actually could also be like this, right? I've got the loops on both. If my style is looping, then I should be consistent. But there's times when I really don't want that looping. I want it to be cleaner, and then I'll do that. And then of course I'll come in and, you know, bold these up to fit. In the case of the loop, you can do the same thing. Sometimes it can look a little unusual, but all right. You may hear a whine in the background here in our village. We have an alarm that goes off. They test it every Saturday at noon. So you've heard what it's called a noon whistle. I don't know where that name came from, but there you go. So this can work on larger letters as well. So I'll move a little bit here. So what I do in my bullet journal every day, I like to practice my script up at the top. Sometimes I'll use my brush marker, so I'll show you that technique. So here I'm actually separating the D and the Y, but maybe I would come in and cheat it, right? Now I'll admit that I've not been trained in script, and there's probably someone out there cringing because I'm doing probably 10 things wrong, and that's okay. It's really me trying to achieve my own style. Here's how I would do it if I was using this pen, the bullet nib outliner. I think again I would stop and do my connection that way, maybe. Oops, I'm off the page. Come up. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to fill the space to give it that feel. I guess I kind of like having this control, deciding to, here I made the mistake. I went on the outside and actually is crashing into the A a little bit. So next time I'll remember if it's that close, I should go on the inside. I would say the other thing that I learned by doing all this lettering too is it's just a constant practice to make adjustments, make changes. So if I were to critique myself, which I can do, a couple things. Don't thicken here. I would say now that I see this, I don't know, no connector needed. So there's a few things I'm noticing. It's kind of interesting. I sort of like that the O is up a little bit from the M baseline. I like this little space right here. It's kind of nice. And so I like how it sort of, if you look at it, it sort of flows up and down and up with the Y. So I've been playing a lot with these curl back Y. It's almost like a baseball team name. Another thing you can play with is maybe intentionally working on a curve. So I'll build a curve down here to work with. So let's do Monday that way. Maybe in this case, actually keep the O right on the baseline. So in a lot of ways, this is a little bit more like typography. See, I put the curl in here. And now I'll do this. So I'm sort of following the same curve as I'm doing the last Y. Now I can come back in and add my depth to it. Oh, this one? This marker is the Neuland FineOne Sketch. It's a 05 and the color is, it's a teal 305. There's a series of these colors that match the black. Really nice. As well as brush. There's brush versions of those colors too. So I'll just come in here, trying to be really careful to, a lot of it is observing, like, where's my space? Where can I go with this? Here's a connection I can make. I guess on this case, I would put the, learning my lesson from putting it on the wrong side of the D, I would actually put it on the outside here. This is some of the advantages you have for building faux script, is you have control over where things will go. So there we go. And maybe what I would do is I'll put a little curve in here. Almost like a sports team, a baseball team thing going on there. Maybe I'll add a little bit of thickness to this, almost like these are, there's a connection here. So there's fun ways to do that as well. Have a little bit of fun things.